checking out the signals for the Baltimore Colts. Unitas gives to Amici. The Colts are the world champions. Amici scores.
It's amazing, sensational, dramatic, heart-rending, exciting, thrilling finish in the history of college football. California won the big game.
1 second left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
This is Phil Steele.
This is Mike Burnham.
This is Wes Durham.
This is Mike Ashley.
Hi, this is Chuck Foreman, number 44 of the Minnesota Vikings.
Woo, mercy, this is handsome Jimmy Vane, the Boogie Woogie Man.
This is Coach Fry with Virginia Tech Football, and you are listening to Big Dog Sports Talk.
Are you ready to rock? Are you ready to roll? Okay, let's do it.
Hey, good morning. How are you? It is Tuesday here on the program, a couple minutes early, actually, because we're going to be a short show today. We'll talk more about that. First of all, I'd like to thank Family Fencing for sponsoring our studios here in Reiner, Virginia. If you're tired of staring at that old worn-out fence or no fence at all, let Family Fencing give your yard the upgrade it deserves. They have a no-dig installation system, and they don't leave any kind of mess in your yard. Locally owned and operated here in the New River Valley, Southwest Virginia. They have finance options available, all types of materials. Get a free quote today. Give them a call at 540-200-8294 or visit familyfencingnrv.com as they are the best. So we're on a little early because, not a little early, a couple minutes early, just because today will be a day that I'm only here for an hour with the program because we have mandatory meetings at Radford University. You don't have, meetings on campus with the president and tell him you can't be there. So we will be up and we will be taking care of that today. Back with the regular show tomorrow. We'll announce the guest list over on our BDST Facebook page. Also, very excited to be able to say that Big Dog Sports Talk is presented by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. We're very, very excited to be teamed up with Jonathan Sweet, Tim, and the entire crew up there at Pulaski County, where I grew up, and we made that major sponsorship announcement yesterday. So thank you so much, everyone, Pulaski County Sports Entertainment, for everything that you will be doing and you have already done. It's going to be great. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Very happy to be able to say we're presented by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. Also, yesterday we announced that Little River Heating and Air, new sponsor, 1095 Radford Street in Christiansburg. If anybody wants to jump on and become a sponsor of the program, reach out. Your budget is my budget for advertising here on the program. But we've had quite a few people jump on, people that I believe in, people that I have utilized in my personal life, like Charles Lee at Little River, 1095 Radford Street in Christiansburg. So be sure to go see them. And always chime in on our McClellan Chiropractic chat line here with Mark Hundley. Jump in, say hi. Short show today, as I said, because I'll have to leave at 7 to get to these meetings. But we did a thing last night, which is cool, and it worked out in a lot of different ways. If you go to the channel at any point, today, if you're just wanting to see something really cool, we did our first recorded broadcast last night. And BDST legal counsel, Richie Davis, he's one of the members of the Radford High School Hall of Fame. And he had this idea to have a short recorded stream of a surprise announcement. Rick Cormany, the legendary Radford High School basketball coach who won 6 titles. They actually played in 11 title games. Coach Cormany kind of jokes, hey, I wasn't very good. 6-5 in title games. Mike Jones, the former head basketball coach at Radford, who's going in the RU Hall of Fame this October, now the head coach at UNCG. And they inducted his wife, Sharon, who was the chief primary fundraiser for the Radford basketball program at the high school level for the Bobcats while, she was here with Coach Jones. And, of course, both of her sons, Nate and Miles, went through the program and helped elevate it even more. So we did that last night. So if you check it out, leave a comment, congratulate Sharon. for whatever reason, when, I'm learning as I go here, right? So we did the video last night, which is cool. It's really cool. It turned out really nice. And this is, when you watch it, is how we're going to do things when we do the shows separate from the live, when we record other shows with various people. And last night we had 3 people on, and it looked nice, looked really nice. We had 3 screens. And I think on this mechanism here, what I use here at StreamYard, you can get as many as 6 on the screen at the same time. So check it out after you're done watching us here on the only 1 hour show today. Then we're back tomorrow. Pretty sure we're going to have Bill Roth and David Teal tomorrow. And there's a lot to cover, obviously, with Whit Babcock, who made his presentation yesterday. I'd like to get your thoughts on the McClellan, in the McClellan chat room. Nothing was really surprising. It wasn't earth-shattering, the things that were said from Whit Babcock, saying that Virginia Tech had to have a $200 million budget. That's their bottom if they want to try to be competitive. That sounds like that's pretty accurate to me. Hit us up on the text line as well if you want to chime in that way at 540-391-0788. 540-391-0788 in the chat, that's the text line. So, Whit Babcock's comments, I don't know where you fall on it. It's not a major surprise, right? It's just, I think that $200 million, you see where Tech is now, 144. That's a lot. That's a big difference. That's a big difference. People had some comments that were kind of mixed. A lot of fans are frustrated. But the presentation of the Board of Visitors and basically saying, Virginia Tech's behind the times. We haven't recognized the changing financial landscape of college athletics. It shows with our budget. He says we can't keep running the same financial playbook and expect Virginia Tech to be where they want to be. And I think it sounded like some of the comments that, folks were receptive. Folks were very receptive to it. And we'll see what happens now going forward. It's one thing to talk about all these things, and then it's another thing to actually act. So basically what Babcock's saying is you need $80 million more to be committed to making Virginia Tech what they need to be. Whether or not that it happens from the help they're looking for on campus, I don't know the answers to that. Tomorrow night, I'm scheduled to go to the Blacksburg Sports Club with Louise Baker, meet some people, and to hang out. Bill Roth's the speaker. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with the money that they want and whether it will transpire. I don't know what the reaction is going to be over there. It'd be interesting to hear from folks to kind of get their take. I should get a better vibe because there's a lot of high rollers over there in those meetings and some people that were there that have been longtime supporters dedicated to the program. So I'll be interested to kind of get a vibe about how it was received. A lot of this was public ahead of time, so it wasn't, earth shattering. But from the little bit I did watch, or the highlights I did watch, you could tell that, I don't want to say this the wrong way. You can tell, though, that Whit Babcock's like, you know what? This is my last shot maybe to try to save my job. He even made the comment, whether I'm here by my own decision or yours, whatever, this is where we are. And I thought that was an interesting comment as well. But I thought he handled himself well. It was a big day for him. Honestly, right? It's just a lot to it. So we'll see what the aftermath might be. There'll be a lot written about it today, and I'm looking forward to talking to our pundits as we get later in the week about all this as well, and just see where everything sits in their minds. And I don't know whether or not it will have the kind of effect that people want immediately, but gradually people are going to have to come to those grips, especially if it's a poor football season. But I thought the comment that I really liked from Whit was our resources don't match our expectations, And I like that. When you look at the graphic, I'm trying to make it out right here. It's hard to see. But maximum amount, additional money allowed. They've got a little 10-year total here to get them up to about $246 million by the end of the 34-35 season as an annual operating budget. And that's a lot. But again, getting up to around 250 in the 10-year plan is the goal. Is it wrong to say that feels like that's not enough? Like, you see how it's risen already in the short amount of time that we've had all this revenue sharing, and with the new TV deal coming, in 2030? And that's when realignment's probably going to kick in full time, and the ACC will be either dissolved or crippled to the point to where it's no longer going to be an effective Power 4 league. A viable Power 4 league. I believe that's going to happen. I believe Virginia Tech will no longer be part of the ACC. I think you're going to have then that exodus come across that we talked about the last couple of years. I think that's when it's going to happen. ACC is on a short lifespan, I think, in terms of what it looks like now, and I think everybody realizes that. I thought it was interesting, too. Whit brought up Cal and Stanford, who are two of those West Coast members in the ACC now, and said, they just kind of drug their feet. And I'm just paraphrasing, of course. So it sounded like he was just saying, look, they got left behind because they didn't commit. And he's correct. Stanford has a very successful athletic program, but they're not good anymore at football or men's basketball. Cal's not good at men's basketball or football. I mean, there's a whole lot of commitment there to the Olympic sports, the things that don't pay the bills, and they lost their traction in their league. They lost their attraction for someone to say, let's bring those two programs in, right? When Oregon and Washington and the California or the LA schools left, go to the Big Ten, you didn't hear any traction on Cal and Stanford. You know why? Because they were assessed by the Big Ten, and they said, yeah, academically, obviously they would fit, but that's not going to pay the piper. And now they find themselves having to desperately take this, in turn, desperation offer from the ACC to commit to traveling 3,000 miles many times per athletic seasons just to be part of a Power 4 league. And Whit brought that up, and I thought that was a nice touch just to make people see the reality of it. He wasn't dogging those programs. I mean, Stanford has more national titles than any other school, if you add them all up, of anybody in collegiate athletics. But we're talking about football specifically. So I thought he handled himself well, to be honest with you. I thought he came across well. There were a lot of people that thought he was just going to come across in a not so positive manner, but I thought he was very honest. He was very direct, just saying this is what we have to have, and are you going to give it to us or not? It was honest in terms of where you are, and I think maybe it looked like to me, seeing some of the boards, some of the things that were written, and maybe I'm wrong, and you can let me know here in the McClelland Chiropractic chat room. It just seemed like the board was a little surprised. Some of them were making comments. We don't like to see Virginia Tech so far down the totem pole of budget. So maybe that will work. Jim says Tech needs to go big or step back. Supporters need to step up too. Yeah. I mean, that's where it is. And, and we talked about this last week. And I think about this a lot. And I know Tech is not SMU in terms of the viable amount of money people that are available immediately to throw in, blah, blah, blah. But whatever the total may have been for SMU, and I want to say it was somewhere upwards of $300 million, maybe more. I don't know. When they got the invite to the ACC or knew they were going to get the invite, they had such a universal connection and push by the higher end donors, and there's so many. I mean, my athletic director at Radford, Robert Lindenberg, worked at SMU. He lived in Dallas, and he always talks about the amounts of money that are down there in that program, even though they weren't Power 4 at the time. Just money filtering in everywhere. And they raised more money than any Power 4 school just to have enough to get out of that league and go to the ACC. And that's how quickly and it happened pretty quickly. They went on a massive fundraising campaign, and now, boom, here they are. And they're, picked third in the ACC after a great inaugural season last year. So you see the path that they took and their mindset, as opposed to, not surprising, the California schools' mindset toward football. And Whit pointed that out. So SMU wrapped their arms around it, and now here they are in a really nice position. And SMU is probably building enough momentum that when the ACC implodes in, 4 or 5 years, they're going to be very attractive for another one of those power leagues, right? They're just going to continue to improve their facilities. They're going to continue to spend money, hire good coaches, be able to have money for players. It's going to continue to swell down there because it's very competitive. They don't want to just look at, Texas and Texas A&M and Baylor and Texas Tech and all those other big power schools. They don't want to look at themselves, TCU, and consider themselves, we're SMU. No, they're not. There's a pecking order. And I'm not saying Virginia Tech can get to that level, but they sure as heck can improve upon it. So to be honest, I thought it was, again, not anything earth-shattering, but I thought Whit Babcock did a nice job with his presentation. I really do. Now we'll see what the response is from campus, and we'll see what the Tech booster pool, we'll see how they respond to it. But hit me up in the chat room or hit me up on the BDST text line, anything that might be on your mind. I'd like to get your thoughts on all these things that are going on. Again, it's a short show today. Yeah, that's right, Rodney. It's a short leash today. Speaking of presidential and campus meetings, we have our annual athletics campus crusade. We have a series of meetings with the folks around campus today. So that starts at 7:45. So just an hour today, and then we'll be back tomorrow. With the regular show. We're going to have the particulars on tomorrow, right? You're going to have David Teal and Bill Roth to talk about all this. Yeah, that was great. Yeah, thanks, Richie. That was all you, man. Richie Davis, by the way, you organized the Sharon Jones Hall of Fame announcement last night. That was cool. That was fun. It was just great to hang out with Rick Cormany and Mike Jones and Sharon Jones again. And it was our first recorded video. And you had 3 people. So I can get as many as 6, I found out last night. So that's exciting. So we can do a lot of things separate from the live show going forward. That's exciting to me. But check it out. It's on the channel. It's about 20 minutes long. Make comments. Congratulate Sharon. It was great. It was great. Great to see those folks. And they generally didn't know. And Coach Jones, Mike Jones, didn't know either. He's now the head coach at UNCG. I think they were both surprised. And, we were going to kind of play it up a little bit if you watch it. And then Rick jumped head first in. Hey, let's get this out of the way now. Congratulations, Sharon. Jim, I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I have never been to a Blacksburg Sports Club meeting, so I'm looking forward to hanging out there. We're going to bring a QR code for the show, too. Because we don't have a way to show people how easy it is. I think people here subscribe. It's free. It's absolutely free, but we got to get the subscription base up. I'm really pleased. I mean, we're over 30. I mean, we had a lot of views on yesterday's show. We were over 3,300 views through 6 shows. I'm thrilled to death with that. That's awesome. That's awesome. But we need to get the subscription base up. It's absolutely free. You just got to go in, like every video, and if you haven't subscribed, hit subscribe. And all that means is on your YouTube, you'll just get notifications. Hey, this is coming on. The next show's coming on tomorrow. It doesn't mean you don't pay for anything. It's free. But we're almost at 300. Let's get that thing over 300 today. Show people the QR code on our Facebook page, but just subscribe. Pass it along. Anybody who likes sports, anybody who likes entertainment, I think we provide both. Hand in hand, sports entertainment and regular entertainment. We'll cover a lot of pop culture here on the program. Dwight Vick and I are going to do an entirely movie-based show one day. But we need you to subscribe. Please subscribe. And I get reminded of that by the show YouTube handler whenever they chime in. They're pleased with the trajectory, but let's make the algorithm ours, and we can. But you got to hit subscribe. Got to get it out there. I'm trying to figure out more ways to do it, and I thought maybe going to this with Louise tomorrow might help spread the word a little bit. So we need to do it. We can make this thing happen from here and expand to wherever we want it to go. Because I believe in Southwest Virginia. It's my home, New River Valley, and I got to be perfectly honest. I don't like the stigma that sometimes comes with living in this part of the state. It really bothers me. And I don't mean from people here, but you know what I'm talking about. We have to have a chip on our shoulder a little bit. Other parts of the state may look at us a little differently, and it bugs me. So let's not let that happen. Let's not just say go into, apathy, if you will. But anyway, so yeah, I thought Whit did a good job. Let me know what you think. I know a lot of people are going to be skeptical. So yeah, but we had fun last night with Rick Cormany, Mike Jones, and Sharon Jones. And that is our first recorded video. It went much better than I thought. Comment section's now available. They protect you on your first video. Look, I'm learning as I go. Like I say, we're always going to take you behind the curtain here to see the wizard. But your first recorded video, YouTube automatically, you have to go in and manually turn comments on. So if people wanted to comment last night when they watched it, now you can. And I learned that. I didn't know. I looked at the settings. I'm like, why aren't people commenting? It said comments off. And I'm like, I didn't turn comments off. Well, they do that. There's an explanation when you click on it as someone who, if you're a content creator, which is what I am now. Wow, Rick Watson, content creator on YouTube. Now it's turned on. So going forward, any shorts that we do will be, or recorded videos, you can record. I mean, you can comment, but go in there and tell Sharon how much you appreciate it. It was awesome. Also, we yesterday, we have our BDST fan question of the week brought to you by attorney Ryan Pry, 701 West Main Street in Radford in the Central Square parking lot. Visit prylawoffice.com for more information. He specializes in estate planning and trusts, 540-838-2233. And hit me up either on the text line or messenger, something. I'd like to find out. The question is, why are your favorite sports teams your favorite sports teams? And then we'll talk about those as the week goes on. Text line is 540-391-0788. 540-391-0788. And as always, again, please subscribe, like, and share. Jimmy says his opinion is realignment and the market Virginia Tech canceling series against ODU was better and have powerful opponents when the ACC goes to 2029. Yeah, there's no doubt. And that's something Mike Burnop talked about yesterday. The schedule's got to get better. Oh, I used to have the best friendly point counterpoints with Jim Weaver. Shows you how times have changed. First run of the show. And by the way, we were the show that announced Virginia Tech getting a official invitation from the ACC in those meetings. Was that 2003? And I owe it all to Wes Germ, who was sitting in the meetings. And, you know, at the time he was the voice of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. And he called my phone, my cell. I think I had a BlackBerry then. I don't remember what we were using. Was it a BlackBerry? Wow. And he said, hey, man, I just stepped out for a second, but they just voted and Virginia Tech's going to get official offer to the ACC if you want that for your show. I know you're on. That's when it was an afternoon show. So this was shortly about 5:30 one day. And we made that announcement. And the phone started ringing and ringing. And then the whole week, that was a Monday, whatever the day of that meeting, I think it was a Monday or Tuesday. The phones didn't stop for 2 weeks. And there was an article in the paper that cited us being the source. And, you know, so the point being, Tech got in the ACC then, and Jim would come on the show. Again, shows you how things change. I had a great relationship with Jim Weaver, and he came on every week. Came on the show every week. Wanted to be on the show. Now, can you imagine? It's not no shade against Witt, but if you made that offer, you wouldn't even get a response. You know, ADs they don't do that anymore. But we would have discussions, and at the time you had these conversations about Virginia Tech because, boy, they were a draw. People wanted to watch Virginia Tech play, especially non-conference, and they had opportunities to go to UCLA. They had opportunities to go to Oregon, travel across the country. And Jim would always just say, well, we're looking at the cost effectiveness of it, or the lack thereof. And he's been lauded here last week. You know, last week on the program, we were talking about how he made a very small budget still profitable because he was so shrewd with how Virginia Tech spent their money. They never went into those games. And my argument would always be, well, if it's created for TV folks would pay for the chartered flights and they would pay for a lot of this stuff, right? So what happened? Virginia Tech turned down all those opportunities. They never extended themselves beyond that game at Texas A&M in College Station. And I'm not counting bowl games. I'm talking about the regular season. Nebraska, Texas A&M, right? If I'm not mistaken, unless it's been now with the new ACC alignment with Cal, now he went to Stanford last year, Tech had not had a regular season game beyond Nebraska. And I always thought they should have expanded their brand nationwide. Had eaten the cost early, but he always had a counter argument and he had his reasons for it. I always disagreed. And what happened, it didn't end up benefiting them, but Virginia stepped into each of those opportunities. They did a home and home with Oregon. They did a home and home with UCLA. And Virginia wanted to do that because they knew Virginia Tech did not accept the invitations. And then they stepped in. But they do have to improve the schedule. The schedule has traditionally been very poor. Non-conference schedule in Blacksburg is, especially since Witt got there, it's not been good. Virginia Tech should not be playing Wofford ever in football. The Old Dominion series was poorly conceived from the onset, and now they finally nixed it. They realized, what is that doing? And I said this a lot on the show. No one, I won't say they don't care, but no one is tied in or excited about that whole matchup ever. All it means is Tech can lose that game, which has happened. You beat ODU. Yeah, we beat ODU. You're supposed to. That game was so ridiculous. And they won't ever see that again. But they've got to improve their non-conference. They've got to challenge themselves. You got to make fans give a damn about the opponents you're bringing into the stadium when you're going to be asking now for more money. Tickets are going to go up. Concessions are going to go way up. Parking is going to go way up. And you're going to be asking all that. And, oh, boy, let's spend a Saturday morning against Wofford. And then that doesn't make you better for conference play. And I know a lot of programs are doing it. Too many do it. But Tech needs to really bump up their non-conference. And you can't say it's because people don't want to play in Lane Stadium. It's not like Tech's had a strong track record the last 6 years. It's not like people are looking at that as being, ooh, we don't want to go there. Maybe that was the case back a few years earlier, but not now. Wow. To do that for as long as they did, I mean, now that's on wit. And now they're getting out of it, going to pay a price, but they're going to make all that up in the games that they replace them with. It was never a good idea, and it was never exciting, and it was a matchup that you always just sit there and watch like this. Oh, no, wait a minute. They're behind in the fourth quarter? Only bad things can happen. Big Al, you're right. Pivotal moment, Virginia Tech Athletics. And I know hindsight's 2020, but they turned down their SEC invitation. That was a couple of years after the whole getting in the ACC. And at the time, you probably didn't know that all of a sudden the SEC was going to explode a few years later and turn into the power broker of college athletics. Not only did they turn it down, they turned it down very arrogantly. And there are a lot of people still around the SEC who were around then. Now, money will always override grudges and hurt feelings most of the time, if not all the time, the reality of it. But I still believe Virginia Tech has not gotten any serious traction for SEC membership because I think a lot of people remember the mindset about them not accepting it. And all I can say is, can you imagine today? None of this would be in the conversation, right? None of this. If 19 years ago, wow, it's been 20 years. If almost 20 years ago, Virginia Tech, who had just gotten in the ACC, felt a commitment, they'd always wanted to be there. You understand the mindset at the time. They got their dream invitation. But can you imagine if they'd have said yes? Sorry, ACC, I know you're mad. You didn't have these unbelievable buyouts and millions, hundreds of millions of dollars to get out of the contract. Can you imagine? None of this would be in the conversation right now. None of this would be. Tech would be consistently getting better players. I don't know where they would be in the hierarchy of the standings each and every year, but I don't think we'd have seen the program sink like we've seen it sink since Coach Beamer left. It started before he left. But I think there would have been a certain status, a certain type of level that would have been pretty prominent, even in the down times. Like, for instance, I don't think they would have been Vanderbilt. I think they would have been in lean years, kind of like Mississippi State, maybe Kentucky-esque. There you go. I don't think they would have ever sunk down to the Vanderbilt level. No. Now, Vandy's trying to climb out of that. I know here's people going to say, well, what about happened last year? I'm not talking about last year. I know Vanderbilt beat them. I know they're coming here on Saturday night. I know Diego Pavia is one of my favorite players to watch. He's a good quarterback. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about theoretically. I don't think Tech would have been at that level. I think they would have more than likely been middling. See, they would have gotten better players because there would have been a lot more money in the coffers, and there would have been a lot more players that wanted to play in the SEC, seeing how it all evolved. And I know this is hindsight, but it was brought up in the chat. Maybe they'd have been like South Carolina at the time too, somebody like that. Missouri. I don't think they'd have ever sunk year in, year out to the bottom, no. I think there was too much momentum behind the program. Facilities were being upgraded. But at the time, nobody questioned it because they just got in the ACC, and that was the dream. So then the SEC pivots, and the rest is history. So now, in my opinion, at least, where are we today? August the 19th, 2025. As the ACC, and we get more news here year by year, getting closer to the end of the contract and the inevitable implosion of that league, I believe Tech will end up in the Big 12. That's where I think they will go, because I don't think they're going to have offers from the other two. And I know for a fact, I said this last week, I know for a fact the Big 12 really, really values Virginia Tech in a lot of ways. Football program, academically too, the agricultural part fits a lot of what the Big 12, has in mind. Enrollment, the tradition, all of it. I really believe that's where they're going to go. And this is not a prediction. I'm not saying that they're going to get an invite. Okay. Don't take it out of context. My opinion, just people that I know in that league, knowing how and you should feel good about that. You should feel good. I've heard nothing. No one has ever said that there's any hesitation if they decide to expand out of the ACC. Let's just say it this way. This is how confident I am in it. If the Big 12 beats everybody to the gun again, because that's what they like to do, because they look at themselves as, they've got a little chip on their shoulder. They're number 3 in the power scheme of things. If they decide to poach from the ACC, once all these presidents start putting out feelers and all these ADs start talking to each other, they're going to offer Virginia Tech. 100%. 100% they will. Now, will Tech take it? I don't know. But I'm just telling you, that's where it's going to happen. West Virginia's there. I think there's some games that can become pretty intriguing to Tech in the conference that may not be there now in the ACC. And I know regionally that sounds silly. It sounds a little silly to say that, because in terms of region and proximity, you would think. But Tech doesn't play Clemson a whole lot, or Florida State. The league finally fixed the entire Miami debacle when they did all their rescheduling, which should have told a lot of schools in the ACC that they don't really have their ducks in a row, do they? With this whole let's do the annual pairings and leave out obvious matchups that should have been made. At one time, they played North Carolina. I don't think they play them this year at all. I mean, you get tired of watching them play Wake Forest. I'm not dogging those programs, but if you're a Tech fan, do you get excited about Wake Forest? I mean, you're going to beat Virginia every year. Syracuse, there's the Big East tie-in, so that's pretty cool. You don't care about Stanford. You don't care about Cal. Does the Louisville game get you excited? I mentioned they don't play Florida State and Clemson, Georgia Tech. North Carolina State game, okay. SMU's really good. Will they play and become any? Yeah, you'll be intrigued because they're good. Pitt. But, I mean, look at the Big 12. I mean, you may not have any tie-in to these schools yet, but how are you going to feel if, well, I mentioned West Virginia. And Dion likely won't be there when this happens. But, you got Colorado. You got Baylor. Arizona schools are there. TCU, Kansas State, Texas Tech, Iowa. I mean, that's pretty cool. Higher profile football opponents. We're not talking about any other sport here. We're talking about just football. And all this is just speculative for the future. And we don't know. I never saw my future being on YouTube, but yet here I am. So, but long story short, and I know a lot of people are still bitter at Witt. They blame him. And, he does deserve a lot of the responsibility for where this program isn't. No, there's no doubt about that. No doubt. See, Wayne, from a basketball perspective, yeah, that would be very exciting. I know basketball in the ACC is awesome. But even in a basketball league like the ACC, who gets you excited when Virginia Tech plays them at the Castle if it's not Duke or North Carolina? You know? Look at the hardwood matchups in the Big 12, which has been the highest rated league in the Ken Palm for the last, 5 years? Being able to play Kansas and wow, and Baylor, and Arizona, perennial top 10 teams. Saying you wouldn't lose as much as you would think. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, you're going to lose a lot in basketball. Maybe not. Maybe not. Especially if Carolina's bolting out of your league anyway, which I believe will be the first shoe to drop. 100%. I think Florida State turned a lot of people off. It's like the girl in high school, you know. Sometimes there's the heavy pursuit one way or the other. And it kind of turns you off a little bit when somebody continues to come at you all the time, right? Remember in Wayne's World? Remember in Wayne's World when, Tia Carrera is there and he's just completely taken by her. And then you had the other girl who they'd kind of had a minor fling, but she's always throwing herself at him, at Wayne. And he and Garth spent most of the movie trying to avoid her. Remember? I think Clemson did that, right? I think Clemson kind of did that to folks. What was her name? Stacy? Yeah, it was Stacy. I think Florida State kind of Stacy'd themselves with the other leagues. We're Florida State. We're the best brand in this league. More people watch our games than anyone else. Oh, we're much better than the rest of the teams in the conference. Come take us, and you'll see how much more money you can make. Then they go out and completely fall flat on their face. In between the time that they went undefeated, didn't get invited to the playoff, and then before the next year, after they made those comments, their AD and their president, and then they just completely crap the bed. And now Mike Norvell's job's on the line because they went all Stacy in Wayne's World. That's what they did. Hi, Wayne. No, you're not Tia Carrera. Tia's a little standoffish. She doesn't really want me in her life. So I'm going to continue to pursue her because I definitely want that. I mean, she's sitting there in those outfits playing a guitar. Not you, Stacy. You got a neck brace on. You keep throwing yourself at other dudes trying to make me jealous. Nah, you're kind of overdoing it. It's a turnoff. North Carolina didn't do any of that. North Carolina has been Tia Carrera the whole time. Right? North Carolina has just been, Cassandra. That's right. Cassandra. That was her character's name. Carolina's been Cassandra. They look great. They have a strong brand. May not always have success, but we're still North Carolina. Michael Jordan. You ever heard of him? We feel like we're a pretty good academic school. We feel like we've got a lot to offer. We have good facilities. We've got a lot of heavy donors. But, hey, you know what? We're ACC school. We have been traditionally. This is our league. I would love it. If you'd like to ask me out, SEC, I would love it. Maybe I'd go with you. We could go out and just have a bite. Maybe we can have some coffee. But, Florida State went all Stacy. They're sitting there buying coffee for the SEC, sending them gifts. And there's like, whoa. You're being very aggressive here right now. Someone on the text line asked, where's the SEC getting the money? TV. ESPN, their TV deal, and along with the Big Ten, their deals are so separated from everybody else. Massive amounts of money. Massive amounts of individual donors in that league. Those donors take a lot of pride that their schools are part of the Power Broker League. And it goes in that order. I know they're together. The Alliance. The real Alliance. The Alliance. The Alliance. But the SEC is the power broker of it all. No, Dream Woman. Thanks, Wayne. Remember when Garth's doing Foxy Lady? And the SEC's acting like subtly throwing things about their expansion. You know why the SEC can talk about expansion whenever the hell they want? Because they know that they'll be able to succeed in expanding whenever they want. Because they now know the SEC is Selma Hayek. And when they put themselves back on the market, there's not going to be a gentleman caller who's going to go, you know, I'm just not attracted to that. Nah. Not going to happen because the SEC is that place and they know it. That's why their commissioner's so arrogant. Is he likable? No. Is he wrong? No. But you cannot compare. Correct, Al. I was getting ready to make this statement. You cannot compare the donor bases in the SEC, the Big Ten, to the ACC. It's I don't know what to tell you. You're not going to hear about any of those schools. Notice how in the SEC, you notice how you don't hear about Vanderbilt struggling to keep up financially. It's not been about their finances. They've just had administration that didn't necessarily see things for the way they were. They didn't evolve toward the football dominance that they should have. But you're not going to hear, I mean, go through the leagues, right? Who's the bottom? Let's see. Who's the bottom dweller in the Big Ten constantly? Rutgers since they got there, but no. They've improved everything since they went to the Big Ten. Maryland was one of the smartest schools ever, jumping when they had the chance, when it didn't make a lot of sense. And give Rutgers credit, too. Maryland and Rutgers had the foresight that Virginia Tech didn't have in the mid-2000s with the SEC. They had the foresight when the Big Ten came calling. You give their leadership a lot of credit. Now, have they fit in and been competitive? No. Rutgers has gotten better. Tech has seen that up close and personal the last 2 years, losing both those games, both close games. And Maryland hasn't found their traction at all. But they jumped. And now you don't hear them talking about finances. At least I haven't seen it publicly ever. I mean, Purdue is traditionally mid. Minnesota. Why do you think Nebraska made the jump? You don't hear about their finances being a problem. It's not. They just haven't found the right coach. And all the other schools, Illinois, Indiana, traditional schools, Illinois preseason number 12. Indiana had a breakthrough playoff year last year. They got the right coach, and now if you go look up their articles, they're getting donations, setting records that they've never seen before. Because winning breeds that. It goes hand in hand. Northwestern. One of the most accredited schools in the country. You're never going to hear about them complaining about finances because of the donorships that they have, the traditional types of folks they turn out at that school that give back. Pete on the text line says, if those leagues are so powerful, why is Notre Dame still an independent? Because Notre Dame is stronger from a financial perspective than the SEC or the Big Ten. And people are going to go, what? That's just crazy talk. Yes. Name another school in the country that could be have the pomposity to say, we're not joining either one of your leagues. But you know what? We're still going to be part of your playoff. Because guess what? You need our shiny, beautiful, now copyrighted gold color helmets on Saturday nights under the lights. You need us more than we need you. We're the SEC. Hey, South Bend, come on. We're the SEC. We're the Big Ten. You know, come on. You know you want to share all this with everybody else. No, we don't really feel like we need to. Nah. We have so much power, we can go to the ACC and say, you know what, we'll join your league because we don't want to have to go to the trouble of scheduling independently for all of our other sports. But hey, ACC, we're not going to play football with you and be an official member. We'll give you 4 or 5 games. That helps our schedule too, right? You're taking a lot of work off of us, but you've got Notre Dame as an all-sport participant, except, of course, in the one that matters the most. And the ACC is like, yeah, okay, let's do it. Yeah, absolutely. John Swofford, yeah, let's go. Notre Dame, woohoo! Don't see the Notre Dame flag at ACC media kickoff. It'll be there for basketball media day, but not for football. Notre Dame doesn't care, and they don't have to. They have their own separate TV contract. They make bank. They don't have to share it with anybody else. They still get extremely high television ratings because of their alumni base that tunes into their game. They're part of the national playoff picture. They're the only independent school that could say that. Alabama wouldn't be able to say that. Notre Dame, and I'm not a Notre Dame guy, they are the linchpin of college football. It's science, and they know it. And you know what? They should flaunt it. They should flaunt it. Because the revenue that they have right now that they enjoy all to their own, that the networks are willing to give, that the college football playoffs willing to give. Think about the arrogance of the SEC that they obviously come to the table with every time there's future meetings being held, and when they get in there and they say, hey, this is what's going to happen. Notre Dame's still allowed to be what they want to be. And you know why? Because you don't hear the Big Ten, the SEC criticizing Notre Dame publicly. You know why? Because they're desperate, each holding out hope they're going to get that ultimate date with Selma Hayek. That's why Notre Dame, Pete, is not part of a league. They don't need to be. They don't report at all. I don't know how that works still with donations and all these things. I don't know. But just the times we've been up there with Radford basketball, talking to people that work there, that have been there, they don't worry about money in South Bend. Ever. They're the only school with the power to do what they do, to exist how they're doing. Nobody else could pull it off. That's why Notre Dame's stronger than the SEC. You might disagree with that, and I understand. But unless they see, if they kind of look out and see over the next few years, the only thing that would get them to join those leagues, Pete, is if they would have had their playoff position taken away from them. In these schools, you would think, if they had the power that they like to tell people they wield, wouldn't you think that they'd be able to come together, the Big Ten, the Axis, the unholy Axis? Wouldn't you think they'd be able to come together and get Notre Dame kicked out of the playoff because you're not part of a conference and you don't have to go through a conference slate like the rest of us? Wouldn't you think by now they'd have figured out a loophole to kick that program out of the national picture? No, they can't, because Notre Dame's more powerful. That's right, Wayne. It's like, the episode of How Much Hand Do You Have, the Seinfeld episode. George had it. George was Notre Dame for a long time. And then he lied, to the piano player about Elaine laughing at the Pez dispenser, and then she had all the hand. Hokey Bob, leprechaun goal. Big Al, Virginia Tech's in positions in due to a lack of leadership. Yeah. Good discussion today. See, this is why coming back was so vital, because we got just a lot of folk in the chat. I hate that it's only an hour show today. This is the kind of thing you could carry through with guests and so forth. Thanks again to Family Fencing Studios being sponsor of our studios here in Reiner. We are always going to have a special place for them because they were the first sponsor here on the program. And we want to thank McClellan Chiropractic, Mark Hunley, for jumping on board with us. Big announcement yesterday, BDST, now brought to you by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. Can't wait to talk to those people here on the show and help talk about all the things they're doing. It's going to be even more awesome going forward. Little River Heating and Air. A lot of good things are happening. If you're sponsored, you want to jump on board, you got a visual here. We can get your logo going here soon. There's going to be some things that I'm going to be doing here that I think is very unique, an opportunity to support the whole community. And this show is a community show. This is your show. That's why I'm enjoying. I'm just enjoying reading the comments. Smart people. But please spread the word. We have to have likes, subscribe, all those things we have to have. If we don't know what the future is going to be. We've grown pretty well, pretty quickly. This is only show number 7. So I'm happy with that, but we need to build it. Go back and watch the old shows, build up the views, likes, and subscribe. It's free. Tell everybody it's free. I think people here subscribe and they're like, well, how much does that cost? Nothing. It just means you get notified. Like, hey, there's a new show today if you want to watch. If not, go back. That's all they do. You're not getting, and it's like one of those little things that pop up on your phone, like probably 24 other things throughout the day that pops up on your phone. It's up there for a second. It goes away. Hey, from YouTube. New Big Dog Sports Talk just got uploaded. Check it out if you didn't watch it. That's all it is. You're not bogged down with anything. But check out the Facebook page. We will update you. I know we're going to have Roth on tomorrow. I believe Teal as well. But I'll sort all that out today. But after my full day of meeting after meeting after meeting, we do it annually. It is kind of cool to have the whole department together and to see everybody. I mean, I know we're going through hearing a lot of different people speak and so forth, but there's kind of a brotherhood there. It's kind of cool from that perspective. But good stuff. Good conversation here today. And we'll see what happens now in the aftermath of Whit Babcock's presentation. Again, I thought he did a nice job. Is it too little too late? I really don't think so. I think Tech's going to step up. I think Tech's going to put themselves in a better position. I might be wrong, but I really believe they're going to heed that message. Because I do believe there are a lot of people on the board that didn't quite understand the math. I believe that. And now they have a clear eyesight of it. I really believe that. How quickly it can happen, I don't know. but they can't drag their feet. It's got to happen expeditiously, I think. So we'll see. Don't forget as well, BDST Fan Question of the Week, brought to you by the attorney Ryan Pry. Why is your favorite football team your favorite football team? Whether it's NFL, whether it's college, hit me up on the text line with that. But tomorrow, full show. Matthew, when will we know if they've made changes? I think you're going to have an announcement come through. Like if you start to see more monies coming through, Tech will not be shy about putting that out there, and it'll probably be a release from the athletic department. Like it won't be hidden money. They're going to be very, very aggressive about here's what we had, like SMU did. When they surpassed their goal double, they put in a release out there, if you remember. We talked about it on the radio show. They wanted people to know. You wanted us to get money? We got it in 48 hours. Here's how much we overshot what we were actually looking for. Which league wants us? So I think they'll make it very public, which they should. They should, because it shows everybody that progress is being made. It won't be a hidden thing. You'll know. You'll know. What I know is, sadly to say, that's it for the Tuesday program. Again, I let everybody know yesterday. You can still find it this first hour. Good discussion, good stuff in the chat, man. I'll tell you what, McClellan Chiropractic chat room getting some work. It'll be up on the Facebook page. Go back and watch, chime in, make comments. That's another thing. You go back and watch the videos, comment. Love to go back and read those. But like, share, subscribe. Please spread the word. Let them know it's free. I got a QR code on the BDST Facebook page. All people have to do is take a picture. It comes right up. Hit subscribe. That's right. Rick Watson made a QR code. Breaking news here on the program. Who knew? Who knew? Also, go check out the video we did last night, our first recorded video. That was awesome. We appreciate that. Rick Cormany, Mike Jones, Sharon Jones, Radford High School Hall of Fame announcement. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We will be back tomorrow. Reggie, there you go. Yeah, he overslept. You can go back and watch the hour. I think we had a good discussion. We'll be back tomorrow, full throttle, for the regular show. This will be the only show that's interrupted like this for a while, okay? So take care, everybody. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow on the Hump Day Wednesday edition of the program. Bye-bye.